Good evening, and first at 5, we are just 2 weeks from Election Day with arguably no bigger issue on the ballot than how to address our ongoing homeless crisis. Over the past few weeks, including during our debate, you heard from the candidates for Oregon governor on what they would do specifically to tackle everything from affordable housing to substance use treatment to mental health. And with many of those challenges centered in the Rose City, this evening, we're taking another look at the race for Portland City Council. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Laurel Porter. Incumbent Commissioner Joanne Hardesty is running against attorney Renee Gonzalez. We're asking both their stance on the city's homeless crisis. Blair Best sat down today with Gonzalez.
Voters say homelessness is their #1 concern heading into the November election. And while it is a statewide issue, it's concentrated here in Portland. Now, we talked with Gonzalez for about 20 minutes today on what he would do differently to address this crisis if elected.
We've got to think big on how we address this issue.
Longtime Portlander, Democrat, and father of 3, Renee Gonzalez describes the state of Portland streets as rough and depressing.
They feel dangerous, they feel unwelcoming, and sometimes unusable.
You say City Hall's ineffective, ideologically driven policies are ruining the city that we used to proudly call home. What do you mean by that as it pertains to the homeless crisis?
Well, we don't drive the discussion with data, and let me be very specific. We tend to homogenize the issue, describe it entirely as an affordability challenge, and when you dig into the data, particularly with respect to the unsheltered, those we interact with daily on the streets, we have a substantial crisis of disabilities. 1 and 2 on that list are addiction and mental illness.
Expanding Portland's addiction treatment services, he says, is dependent on partnering with the state and county.
In your eyes, what isn't working with how the city is handling the homeless crisis, and how could you change that?
Yeah, we're not building nearly enough shelter. And I define that very broadly, everything from safe sleeping spaces to high barrier shelter. We've underinvested in shelter. We've told Portlanders they need to wait to address some of the crisis on our streets until there's enough affordable housing in the area. That day may never come.
You speak of prioritizing shelter. Well, what about the homeless population that refuses to go into shelter? Recent studies show that majority of the people on the streets prefer to stay in their tents.
Yeah, so I think, again, we're going to have to segment that, not treat the whole, what I would call service-resistant population and unsheltered population the same. There are folks that have legitimate concerns about going to shelter, if particularly low-barrier shelter. On the other end of the spectrum, if you don't want to go to shelter because you have a gun, because you want to use hard drugs, because you want to continue to engage in criminal activity, then I think they need to face the criminal justice system.
Do you really think that taking people off the streets and putting them into the criminal justice system, if that's the only option, is the best approach, since sometimes that just continues the cycle?
If they're engaging in car thefts, bike thefts, catalytic converter thefts, low-level vandalism, if they are breaking into stores to feed habits and they happen to hide out in our unsanctioned camps, I think we absolutely have to disrupt that cycle.
How will you ensure that these ideas don't just remain conceptual, and how do you plan to get the rest of City Hall behind you?
Well, I think City Hall is moving in the direction I've been articulating since I entered this race. I am running against the most radical member of City Council on these issues, at times the most anti-law enforcement, at times the most passive with respect to addressing unsheltered camps. And so you replace the most radical member of City Council with someone who I think is more in line with where the city wants to go in addressing these issues. I think we're going to have 3 to 4 votes very consistently on a lot of the things I'm describing.
We also talked of his response to the mayor's 5-part plan announced last week, which includes a move to ban unsanctioned homeless camping. Gonzalez says he supports the plan and that it's heading in the right direction. You can watch the full interview on our YouTube channel. And next week, we're scheduled to talk with Commissioner Joanne Hardesty. Blair Best, KGW News.
Homelessness is an issue in other parts of the metro area, too. Hillsborough has officially opened its first Safe Rest Village. It's at TV Highway and Southwest 17th. It will be a temporary place to stay for people experiencing homelessness. The city also plans to build a permanent shelter at the same site. The tiny home village has 30 pods that can house up to 40 people.
Let's hop over to Washington's 3rd Congressional District because this evening we are waiting for a response from Republican Joe Kent's campaign and hoping he'll provide some clarity around his work history. Let's explain here. The Daily Beast reported Monday that the former Green Beret said he made over $122,000 last year as a project manager for a company called American Enterprise Solutions. But the article said it couldn't find any record of that company. And when KGW did its own digging, nothing turned up under that name in the places the Kent campaign pointed to. There is more here. Check out Catherine's Cook report. It's up right now at KGW.com for all the details. Kent and his team also declined to answer Catherine's questions at a town hall last night. They said they'd send some sort of response today, but so far KGW has not received one. We will keep asking and we will keep you posted.
School students around the state, including in Portland, participated in a statewide walkout in support of Measure 114 today. It's putting some of the strictest gun control rules in the country on the ballot. Daisy Caballero joins us now after speaking with students at Grant High School in Northeast Portland. Daisy?
Yeah, that's right, Laurel. Hundreds of Grant High School students walked out at exactly 1:14 this afternoon. They say that they're upset about what happened last week outside of Jefferson High School, where students were shot. They're hoping their voices are heard and by making this change in supporting Measure 114. So this is what is a yes vote on Measure 114. It would require permits issued by police to buy a gun, heighten background checks, training, and photo ID, alongside banning magazines that hold more than 10 rounds of ammunition. This is something Luke Hendrickson, a senior at Grant High School, who is also part of the school's Gun Law Reform Club, hopes to get voted in to keep students like himself safe both in and out of school.
I think this measure is historic and it's very important, and it's time we get something in our Oregon legislation that addresses gun violence head on, like Measure 114.
Now, both the Oregon State Sheriff's Association and the Oregon Firearm Federation oppose Measure 114, stating it will move very scarce law enforcement resources from protecting our communities elsewhere to accommodate Measure 114 if it's passed. You can read their full thoughts on KGW.com a little later tonight. David, Laurel?
Thank you, Daisy. A lot of issues at stake in this election, but thankfully our team has put together a guide to help you out, covering the candidates and all of those ballot measures. We made it easy. Just text election to this number, 503-226-5088, and then we'll text you back with a link straight to that election guide. 14 days and counting. I mean, rock and roll. Here we go.
New information tonight in the search for a man accused of causing tens of thousands of dollars in damage in Northeast Portland. Crime Stoppers is offering a reward of $2,500 and is trying to get more attention on this case. Police say early in the morning on October 1st, a man went through the Roseway neighborhood slashing tires on cars. Police say as many as 65 people had their cars damaged. The suspect you see here is about 6 feet tall and weighs about 250 pounds. Anyone who recognizes him or has information should contact Portland police.